Hello, Julie Thangmala. Yang Lanchik Thangmala. Welcome, Anjun. Tering atang tering ngati chapter wo yang gozuk chuna. Then tering atang nganmi chapter ka ngata era of one party dominance selat na tena kanyang gozuk chunok teve lesson part 2 inokle. Tering atang ngal last cells ngata after the integration of the princely state India yang challenge chunmu faced which was the challenge of nation building. Sorry, which was the challenges of building democracy. Jadi ngata ini sangat la gyagare ngata nyampo young countries kagun colonialism kani bing tiongos. Take an example sales. Jadi ngata hago te countries goni priority national unity katans. Jadi kone democracy a backseat force. Jadi kone ngata tenang kwa mangchit countries nang kwa non-democratic government yongs tenata non-democratic government ata various forms hago ki there is nominal democracy jakan jigdo kanang kwa effectively controlled by one party yana one leader yana military government yongs tenata India khalok yongs tenata hago ki India chose the difficult path yana India young countries on la non-democratic regime adopt machos India democracy adopts. Tenangata hago tenangatang election escola cells matang cells election commission established in 1950 nangkwa. Tenate first chief election commissioner was Sukumar Sen Gurs. Tenakwe dunla challenge chunmoji pen that was the challenge to conduct a free and fair election. Now you challenges che in Penzana because Sangalata, India is a large country both in terms of area as well as in terms of population, and the population that we had tenangkwa mangchepo illiterate pen yalvachin pen halale tenangatang cells Indian angkwa 17 crore eligible voters to then this 17 crore nang ni only 15% were literate yana silindu dinyendo then 85% bo illiterate duk ngata hago then for conducting election ngata hago first challenges that election commission faced was the drawing the boundaries of the electoral constituency ngata constituency chose se ketan challenge bo then ngata second bo electoral roll chooses bo then ang ngata hago first electoral roll botik tasini hang ten ko chitong su problem jisong ngata hago bamo ni ming bulus song to each someone dicks this thing ni tenangata election commission don la staff e gozdom jiksong tenaka staff e gozdom in nangjin election commission around 3 lakh officers la training dandu kagone ketan election conduct chocheno each sama challenges je kani bings jong se Sukumar Senema las gyala chos and he was ready to pull it off halali yu ngata isangan me chapter ngata isangal la sales yale ya tenangata yang lanchik ena lesson bo yang ngata continuation tenangata yang lanchik ngata tena lesson bo challenges of building democracy ngatang bosuk halali tenangata yang ngata first big test of democracy ngatang gyagare pia halali it was not just the size of the country and the electorate that made this unusual India election bo ma sosoji yang ata country sang ma sosoji sirf कोई size है जस्ते मान याना electorate me gun por dog jalwa chendu teve jaste chikko jaste man Indian election is unusual for very different reasons many reason mangku jige pia ngata Indian election ka ngata first general election as per no 1952 general election jo no ote election bo ma unusual jigitment chezana the first general election was also the first big test sorry yung ata big big test of democracy in a poor and illiterate country. Halale. Indian general election bo democracy konang ay test siginja. Kaya zanangatan you first time India democracy je nyalwa chendang illiterate country nangko democratic practice uses example for first India. That's why it was the big test of democracy. It was the test for democracy. You kya democracy konang a test India. Touches a test democracy nyalwa chene country nangko dulces do hanu. Democracy illiterate mimang and barla democracy dulces do hanu. That's why it was the big test of for democracy. Our Indian election board was the test for democracy fair test. Test which you touches nyalwa chene country nangko yana ka country nangko nyalwa chen mangpodo ka country nangko illiterate mangpodo then nangko democracy transport lus to gal lus amiru gal touches a big test in kya for democracy cow Indian general election cow ngata first election is para no this ngata existence ala ngata stana this super 1947 super 1947 super democracy ka countries nangko exist charu yana nyalwa chen countries nangko exist charu acha amiru illiterate countries and democracy exists charuga chamirukstana tengatachi hagaru. Till then democracy had existed only in the prosperous countries. Tenangata hagaru ki democracy te chukpa 1947 chukpa. Before the independence of India, democracy existed only in the prosperous countries. That means te jana te chukpa democracy nyalwachan countries nangkwa exist cho amiluk zatno yung amang chitkaro churu kanangkwa which countries those which were prosperous kaw ketan yarges songkane country kaw ketan nyalwachan miruk kanangko developed countries nangkwa amani democracy exist cha miruk exist kalte prosperous country na cha na you could exist charu you mainly Europe nangko exist charu and North America nangko exist charu halal kanangkwa nearly everyone was literate kanangkwa mangchet mi changmacheduk literate duk sildang dishes tu tangata chago te chokpa democracy prosperous countries nangkwa mani exist cha mero ka prosperous countries nangkwa mi changma mangchet po literate duk halale that is for existence now universal adult franchise ikangata hamagole universal jana changma adults na 18 yana 18 years above mi hunla ngata adults you know franchises na ngata right to vote lang ngata franchises you halal taibe ming bochu song ngata full khalte meaning bo ngata ha kona right to vote for everyone who is an adult to ngata universal adult franchise tai universal adult franchise you kalte ngata stana word nangkwa you karu yo matlab word nangkwa use kazuga practice hongto sangma immediately tangsto ngata stana tenangata ha goru by that time many countries in Europe had not given voting right to all women harale tenangata ha goru ki by that time jana India independence cha jana India first general election bo conduct cho jana Europe nangkwa voting rights for women matangado that's why you India bold step change chesana India nangkwa universal adult franchise you changma tangskya irrespective of his or her sex halal in this context India's experiment with universal adult franchise appeared very bold and risky enna context na ko jese Europe nangkwa kanungkwa democracy dulte lo mang puchacha Tanga American and Kuano. 1787 and Anko democracy one of the oldest democracies jono. Then Europe and Anko Kanako democracy Konangbo origin song Greek and Anko. This sangman Anko right to vote for women Gulamatando Nam India dance. That means you get a context and Anko. You Indian experiment po. Kanako universal adult franchises Sangma Tangches po ma step chunmo jikang risky ang kya you. Risky chip the risk of failure fail chase jig nambo halale tena pe Indian editors jige kakone newspaper na go dia do article dia do mida editors na atte goni Indian election la 1952 general election la which is the biggest gamble in the history you history namko de super sang me sang gamble chonmo game chonmo existe no zakya zache satunta there is a risk of failure ma chonmo yod juten kalale isongata universal adult franchises tang na te jana scholars guni chis pratang 1952 general election cha jana scholars same Indian election la kazu gastaro kone cheese zet ngata na Indian magazine ji organizers je kanji te nangkwa writers ji this though that Nehru would live up to confess the failure of universal adult franchise in India tayuma negative statement tangsten kale chigal ma no ngata na Indian writers ji tar zetno Nehru a failure wo confess show kasano that means matlab he has to live up to confess the failure of universal adult franchise in India justice atunta po Nehru you confess show ki it is bound to fail universal adult franchise practice po it is bound to fail and Nehru has to confess it jatang tala tene you tangata Indian writer jige tengata young ngata British members jige ka Indian civil service taksangata IAS jo merale Indian administrative service jo amiro tezana tola ICS jo ya Indian civil service the Indian civil service enangko British members jena tezana British India part in pasang in panepala then British members jo kya which is a claim that a future and more enlightened age will view with astonishment the absurd phase of recording the votes of millions of illiterate people. Alata, he somehow sounding positive. Kuch ek ke dang positive rहा. Kuch kya ki it claimed that a future and more enlightened age malale will view with astonishment the absurd phase of recording the votes of millions of illiterate people. Tadwal, each some negative comments some India पूरा challenge చూస్తే అలానే ఈ సమయకానే బింతే వస్తే India ultimately came out successfully. It is an Indian first general election bo mathans kiya alale. Though this was the write-up of those days, the time I na scholars samay ketang ata chi ketang comment tang duk tes ko lang ata six hills. Halal. Now moving on to the final move alale. The final move tangata election konangbo that was the final move election process sama dicks electoral roll tiyar song constituency tiyar song ji sama tiyar song now comes to the final move elections had to be postponed twice and finally held from October 1951 to Feb 1952 the final election kunang bo conduct chua sangal la you lunnis postpone chose kya why because of various reasons jesa na kita ngata ha ngata silma silsalem because we are the largest country my country shonmo then we are doing our board exercise risky moves we had to postpone our election twice lunch is postponed to selting ni finally we held our first general election kanika chupa October 1951 ne tangste Feb 1952 chupa halale la mangpo ji korte mera gale halale then but this the election manam had song dok 1951 enam ko tangata e election la general election of 1951 zera noga 1952 zera tenafia but this election is referred to as the 1952 general election conduct to 1951 nang ko song but ena zo scholars academics ena kwa ena ngata ena zo ngata kitab nang books sangme nang kwa yu lang ata 1952 general election juno che juno since most part of the country voted in January 1952 country khak mang chet pe January 1952 nang kwa ngata vote po tangskyak tena fi lo lang ata 1952 general election June halal na inang kwa cham to time bo cham consume song tok it took 6 months for campaigning polling and counting to be completed election a process khonang boa pura complete joste yo lang ata 6 months ko to campaigning jana electoral campaign jo mera party chame campaign jo no nga ko to tene nga tam mi vote ta no to la polling jo no tene counting so ma vote to te counting choches is changma cham go to total 6 months ko that means first general election bo cham go to 6 months now the tangatal na election bo free and fair do amro the competition hala election bo free and fair do amro gal thache se best criteria no tenang ko parties gun competition joro jomro election bo competitive do amro tenang ata ha goro elections were very competitive 1952 general election bo ma competitive do there were on an average more than 4 candidates for each seat kalteng ata gyagar kang pe average of things tang na seat chichiga 4 candidate do that means ma competitive ra mara seat chichiga gap ni mi ji lang sakya tong first general election bo te chupan tengata kaguni vote tangs kaguni election alangs that they all of them were experiencing it for the first time then after it was competitive tata yu to songata candidates kuni participation eka ta mi kuni participation chidu the level of participation was encouraging even the level of mi kuni participation ang ma encouraging tu ma gyala tu more than half of the eligible voters turn out on the day of election tangata eligible voters are within 17 crore tenangni half 50% sang mange election e jaga vote tanga yong sitan ka election bo 1952 yana first general election bo tena face the election bo chiduk ma competitive do song chutu ta election is tining ata election process sama dik sa tangata result ka yong na the astonishing result the very astonishing result halale in Ankuchizuru, when the results were declared they were accepted as fair even by the losers tachi sama dek election campaigning from polling song counting song this election bo declared song telling ni even election bo fair do in Ankuchang gotala masong tok second bo even opposition lose ngata gun haray song khona accept yakya khona election bo magyala lose we accept it as an free and fair zakya Indian experiment had proved critics wrong. That was Indian experiment. Ngala scholars mo te nga tayo organizer te nga ta writers talks ko ni. Kaguni za ki it is bound to fail za kya. But Sukumar Sen da nga ta leaders sang mo is some critics kane bing te ngoste kona wrong proof just kya. And we did our first general election very successfully. Halale. Da nga ta landmark che. Halale. Observers outside India were equally impressed. The East first general election bo India chipo bilok ni mapo jigalta atya Indian general election bo scholars mangpulta atya leaders mangpulta atya kazuk chi chachan hai tanga ta poor country jig election conduct churu poor country nang ko democracy kyong sadu te khanan kai literate te ta ina kazuk chi chachan jangan sangma mane ma eagerly wait cha atya ultimately kona chi song tok ma impress song tok kona tok wow that was something matak pocho sala matak po song mazamiro this like it kon impress song India's general election of 1952 became a landmark in the history of democracy all over the world. Tenafia ngati first general election bo democracy be history nangwa landmark chunmuji jette pangata achievement chunmuji. Ikane ngata theories mangpo fail songkya. Theories thinkers kachige Zaratyak democracy will not work in a poor and illiterate country. Matachi chose this scholar sama wrong proof chose. That's why it is a landmark in the history of democracy. History nangkwa ngati first in general election bo it was a landmark. Halale. Halale. Then this election was the most remarkably done election in the history of democracy in Halale. Then diri yang ngata ena ka jugdun diri ngata anche cells ngata juna division juna ngata gusuk just kakani first big test of democracy be kunang a test kunang bo tekana gusuk just you Indian general election for 1952 wo it was the test of democracy because we are experimenting democracy in a poor and illiterate country. It was the test of democracy. Democracy exists democracy prosperous countries exist. Universal adult franchise nam India independence song at the time of India conducting the first general election. There's an voting right but India took a bold and risky step. India universal adult franchise dance irrespective of his or her sex. Halale. Right types of scholar there's an thinker negative comments to India fails final move India first general election 1951 October 1951 ne 52 nang ko chose election 1952 general election competition election were very competitive both in terms of candidate participating in the election, candidate contesting the election, and also in terms of people participating in the election. Then astonishing result even the opposition parties gonna accept Indian experiment Indian experiment pe critics some wrong proof then a landmark Indian election it was a landmark democracy be history achievement observers outside India they were equally impressed. Then last conclusion democracy could be practiced in a poor and illiterate country. Democracy nyalwachen nang ko kyong nyanches du nyalwachen country jinga democracy kyong nyanches du nyapanya nang ko illiterate yot nang democracy kyong nyanches du it could be practiced in a such countries then it proved that democracy could be practiced anywhere in the world. Democracy practice irrespective of the region. Democracy to count halal. Then next lesson still lesson bo complete macha no gala lesson bo chunmo lengthy but important parts mangpo chance ke inches mero lesson chapter ko lesson divide next lesson till then goodbye, thank you for being with me.